This may be the most embarrassing thing I voluntarily upload onto the internet. Hi everyone, my name is Katie, and you're listening to KT, where the bar is in hell, which is why I'm talking about celebrities that I will never be with. So by now, many of you have heard of Hear Me Out cakes, and if you haven't, it's when you make a cake and stick pictures of fictional characters in it that you are, well, interested in. And if you really want to have fun, your friend's dad. Don't try this at home. You don't want to clean the cake your friend throws at you off the carpet. Today I wanted to talk about something fun and short. Like short and sweet, but not at all sweet. Just something fun while you patiently anticipate my next episode, which I predict is going to be a lot longer. I received a suggestion that I should do episodes in multiple parts when I know an episode is going to be long, just to get people to come back for the next one. Well, let me tell you what I think of that. I want to center this podcast around transparency and honesty, and I think splitting my episodes just to clickbait you guys and make you wait for the next part is just plain mean. It feels wrong of me to do it, because I care about you as listeners, and every time I find out at the end of something that I have to wait for part 2, I get mad. I know it's to drive business, but at the end of the day, this podcast is not a business, it's a passion, and I plan on going into that further in my next episode. But my goal is to be a storyteller and entertain you. Splitting my episodes into multiple parts doesn't fit my core values. Without further ado, I will be talking about my personal, updated Hear Me Out list. For my grandma who may be listening, a Hear Me Out list is a list of people you think are attractive that aren't conventionally attractive or a common celebrity crush. You're literally saying, hear me out. This person is hot. Some people would go a little further and steamier than my definition, and to you freaks, have at it. But I'm going to keep this episode clean. Or, well, as clean as I can. I actually have a slideshow presentation of my Hear Me Out list, which makes this a lot easier to talk about. Thanks, me from the past. Most of these men are not in order. After the first few, at least. The first one is definitely my favorite, though. And if you know me, you know this is a fact. I guess before I actually dive into the list, here's your disclaimer. This episode is about me talking about possibly attractive men. If you don't want to listen to me talk about men, don't listen to the rest of this episode. And by the way, thank you for the listen. If you didn't know, Spotify counts one listen as someone listening to an episode for at least 60 seconds. And since it's been over 60 seconds, it's still a listen. I would still appreciate it if you all listen to the entirety of my podcast episodes, but I still get plays if you decide after a minute that my voice is annoying. To continue my disclaimer, these are all subjective. This is, for the love of God, my opinion. And if you don't agree with my opinion, I don't want to read your hate comments. I appreciate comments, but if you trash my list, it will affect me a little bit. To clarify, I don't particularly like men. So this list is a weird thing in the making for a while that just exists. Some of these picks are from years ago. You can't judge me, although you can. But either way, I will pretend you all enjoy my picks and will be hearing me out just to fulfill my delusions. So without further ado this time, here's my official Hear Me Out list. My first man on the list is none other than Michael Joseph Jackson. If you know me personally, you probably cringed. I know. Anyways, Michael is the love of my life. That's my most recent search on Wattpad. Just kidding, I only use AO3 like a normal person. I was probably 10 when I first found Michael Jackson attractive. I love his music, love him as the person he was, all of that. But there's a reason people call the thing in his gold pants Mikezilla. Okay, backtrack. I said I would stay clean. What I meant was, I love his smile, and his face, and his body. Anyways, I think I found him most attractive in his Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous eras. From then until maybe Invincible 2. And for all of you that aren't as big of fans as me, I think he was hot from 1980 to almost his death. I hate that picture where Michael looks pretty much dead. You probably know which one. He's overworked. He's looking a little rough. He's had too many nose jobs. So I'm not asking you to hear me out on that picture. not that picture. But there are some pictures in Michael's mature era that drive me off the wall. Get it? Off the wall. But since you've listened to me for this long, as a reward, let me tell you about a Wattpad fanfic I read when I was in about 7th grade. It was about Michael Jackson being a stepdad to 2 kids, a 14-year-old boy and a 17-year-old turning 18 later. The stepdaughter and Michael butted heads a lot, but in the end she feels like he's a father figure. I think it was called Daddy's Girl or something like that, but I honestly can't remember. I tried looking for it on Wattpad, which is the most research I've done about any episode so far, but I haven't been able to find it. If any of you are interested, mention it to me on my Instagram, which is KT Podcast, and I can look further. The next man, on my list is the one and only Soda Pop Curtis from The Outsiders. Come on! Ever since 7th grade, when we read the book in English class, I have wanted this man, and everyone in my class knew it. There was no denying that. So when we watched the movie in class one afternoon, all eyes were on me when Soda Pop came on screen. And during the shower scene, it was just him and me in that room. My eyes were wide open. My English teacher made a joke about it too. I recommend you watch The Outsiders, and not just for that reason. Like, seriously, go watch it. I even asked for a DVD of The Outsiders for my birthday when I turned 13. And not only did I receive that, but I also got a necklace with a yellow pendant with the word Stay Gold in it, just like the movie. Since we're still on my Outsiders obsession, I also made fan edits of Pony Boy and Johnny and posted them on TikTok. They're private now, so you won't find them, but yeah, I did that. I was obsessed, to say the very least. Alright, next on my list is the musician everyone loves, Roger Kefley. Yes, Greg's older brother in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, specifically Devin Bostick's character. I know I'm not alone on this one either. Everyone loves an emo boy that plays drums for a band with a cool name. Everyone knows that. I don't know why Heather Hills didn't just fall head over heels for him at her birthday party. I mean, he literally serenaded her with a Justin Bieber song. What could be more romantic than that? I love musicians. That's what gets me interested, especially bass players. The next man on this list is also a musician. It's Adam Levine, but specifically from his time on The Voice when he was a judge. According to my presentation, apparently the only pictures I liked of him were the ones in his voice chair, and that's really funny to me. I can't believe his Super Bowl halftime performance was 6 years ago. I can remember solely watching the Super Bowl for Adam Levine's halftime show. I remember that part very well. My family was gathered around the TV when Adam Levine took his shirt off. And my response to that was, can he take his pants off next? The look on my dad's face was, well, you can guess. Apparently, I have no shame. Alright. Next man. I have to admit, I am one of those people who think Luigi Mangione is hot. I mean, what a total catch. Need I say more? Actually, yes. I've heard that some YouTube channels have been taken down because they included videos talking about Luigi. So if that's the case, let's keep this to ourselves. And besides, I think it's more about the legal part and less about the attractive part. So I hope talking about him being hot doesn't get me in trouble. I kind of love the social media stalking everyone's been doing. Digital footprints are real, guys. And on that note, I love Sabrina Carpenter's digital footprint. To me, she's one of the realest celebrities. Her songs are real. Have you ever listened to Juno? So relatable. I'm probably kidding, but that one video of her when she's a kid and she says she can talk to animals or something, and then she's next to the cat and says, "We're tight," and then starts meowing at the cat. I think it's priceless. But Luigi Mangione is a fine man, and I'll stand on that 10 toes down. My next man definitely tells you something about who I am as a person. I love when men have a sense of humor, and not the kind of humor that belittles others. I need a man who makes me laugh while not tearing others down. Unless those others are terrible people. I love making jokes about terrible people. Anyways, the next man is young Jimmy Fallon. Don't ask me for an age, just look up young Jimmy Fallon on Google or something and you'll see what I mean. He's got a great smile, and he's a comedian. That's all you really need to make me happy. The bar is, in fact, in hell. The next man in my presentation is Kenickie from Grease, but I honestly think I like his homoerotic relationship with Danny more. When I was working on the presentation, I couldn't find any pictures that I thought showcased his appearance. I think that's a category. There are people who look better in person or in a movie than pictures. For me, I think I definitely looked better in pictures, but only pictures I take. So was Kenickie really a hear me out? I don't remember. All I can say was he was on the presentation, and I'm required to say that the presentation is not a reflection of who I am as a person. Moving on. The next man on my list is Georgie Cooper from Young Sheldon, but specifically the last season because I'm not creepy. There's a question I saw online once asking, when you get older, do you find older people attractive? And that isn't a bad question considering that there are so many older men with 20-year-old girls. Well, here's a question to answer that question. You had a crush in kindergarten. Would you still think that 5-year-old crush is cute today? If you are normal, the answer is no. If the answer is yes, I want you to locate your local police station and turn yourself in. Related to Young Sheldon, I also have Pastor Rob on my list. I enjoyed the dream scenes when he and Mary were getting, well, unholy, and then Mary would wake up sweating. I definitely understand why Missy thought about marrying him, because me too, girl, me too. The wedding scene was well done too. It's so common for kids to look up to or crush on adults they admire, and the scene was done in a tasteful way. If I'm remembering correctly, when it came to the part when usually you would say you may now kiss the bride, I think they said you may high five or fist bump. I would have to re-watch the episode, but I don't know what episode it was, and as I have probably mentioned in every episode, I'm a film major. I have so many required movies to watch for classes that I don't have time to watch anything for fun or even to fact-check my podcast. In fact, I was at a friend's house recently, and we couldn't figure out what to watch because the film major in me was off duty, so we ended up watching Family Guy funny moments on YouTube. I don't know what that says about me. Maybe I don't want to know. But what I do want to know is if you've ever watched Raising Hope. It's a sitcom that aired about 15 years ago about a dysfunctional family of a guy in his 20s named Jimmy Chance, his parents Bert and Virginia, and his great-grandma named Mama, who all live together. Then one day, Jimmy hooks up with a serial killer and gets her pregnant, and he decides to keep the baby after the serial killer is sent to death row. Anyway, it's a really funny show, and I recommend watching it sometime. And not only because it's well written, but also because it was, let's just say, well casted. Jimmy Chance is so cute, and he is the next man on my list. He's kind of dorky, and it took him forever to get a girlfriend, but he's cute and funny, which happen to be probably the only two things I look for in anyone, in addition to a nice smile and bass playing abilities, of course. Jimmy Chance is also an artist. If you've watched the show, you've seen him drawing on paper bags at work, and he's even good with Shrinky Dinks. Is my audience old enough to know what a Shrinky Dink is? Am I old enough to know what a Shrinky Dink is? They're the things you draw on and then put in the oven, and when you take them out, they shrink. Hence the name Shrinky Dink. Anyways, I think artists are so cool. I wish I could draw. My brother is an artist, specifically a comic book author and illustrator. At the time of writing the script, he's made around 80 comics, and he's also good at animation. And still related, and I mean related, Bert Chance is also on my Hear Me Out list. Bert's dynamic with his wife is so fun, and that's what I enjoy in my potential suitor. I like having fun with whoever I'm with. And he has his own business, and I think that's really cool. Sometimes I wish I could start my own business, but my podcast is somewhat of a business in itself. However, I'm not getting paid, so maybe I can call it charity work. That makes me a volunteer, right? The next man on my list is also from a sitcom. I don't know if you know him, but he's Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother, which, before I even begin talking about him, someone I showed my presentation to made fun of me for this. But in my defense, Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec was on her presentation, and he looks like what you would picture if a hedgehog turned into a human. No offense, Ben Wyatt, but it's not your fault. And I do like hedgehogs, just not when people look like them. Anyways, Ted isn't bad. I used to stay up late and watch How I Met Your Mother reruns a lot, and I like how Ted isn't trying to be a ladies' man. You know who is a ladies' man? The next man on my list, Barney Stinson, also from How I Met Your Mother. Well, whether or not he's actually a ladies' man is debatable, but I liked his failed charisma. Personally, some of the things he says might actually work on me. I don't know. He doesn't play bass, so I'd have to turn him down. In one episode, it's the holidays, and Barney sings parodies of Christmas songs about Ted's sister. Let me just say that I'm a big fan of parodies. If someone wrote a parody for me, I'd probably fall for them, which is why the bar is in hell. While I'm on the topic of How I Met Your Mother, I love that one scene where Ted and Barney talk about getting married, but as bros. They say, "Wouldn't it be great to raise your kid with your best friend?" That was a good scene. It reminded me of Lavender Marriages, but it was like the complete opposite. Barney even said something along the lines of, "And when I bring a girl home, you won't complain. You'll just give me a high five." When I was 10, I used to watch Doogie Howser, MD, which also stars Neil Patrick Harris, but as a kid genius that works at a doctor in a hospital. And I crushed on him then. But I looked up the show recently to see what he looked like as a kid, and I actually think I cringed. It's the thing I mentioned before. When you're a kid, you have crushes on kids, but when you're an adult, you don't have crushes on kids. You look back at them and wonder why you liked that sticky, snotty-nosed kid that you played with on the playground. Alright, next on my list is Ben Higgins. Do I have any Bachelor Nation fans listening? Ben Higgins was the star of The Bachelor's 20th season, and he's from Indiana. One time my dad and I drove around the area where his parents still live because we were already in the area for something. Anyways, that was the first season of The Bachelor I've ever watched, and it kept me coming back. In fact, it made me want to be a camera person for the show someday. I'd love to know the drama that goes on behind the scenes in the mansion. I actually did a quick Google search on him to see what he was doing now, and I found out that he went to my university. Ben Higgins was on my campus, and I didn't even know it. I know a lot of famous people went here, including my aunt and my grandma, of course, but I kind of feel connected to him in a way now. The last man on my presentation is more of a niche one. His name is James Holzhauer, and he is a Jeopardy champion. He's a sports gambler from Vegas, and he's brilliant. Just a little fun fact about me, I'm not allowed to bet on sports in certain leagues because of my job. Not only is James smart enough to win Jeopardy for 32 days and is, according to my brief Google search, the highest earning American game show contestant of all time, he's funny and charming as well. I thoroughly enjoyed watching him destroy his opponents and his famous all-in move. There's even a film theory video of James's winning streak and how Jeopardy was trying to keep James from continuing his reign. I think it's a two-parter, but it's definitely worth watching. Oh, and now I'll get to the fact that yes, I do watch Jeopardy. Every night at 7:30 you will catch me in front of the TV attempting to answer trivia questions correctly. If you try to call me or my dad for the next half hour, we won't answer. Is it a beige flag of mine? Maybe. Does watching Jeopardy make you a nerd? I don't think so, but I'm definitely biased. It sounds nerdy when my friends mention something and I say, "Hey, that was Final Jeopardy last night." But one of my favorite sayings is, knowledge is power. And as my grandma says, you don't know what you don't know. I don't know where she got that from, but I will continue to watch Jeopardy until I don't know how to turn it on anymore. Okay, I'll be real. While writing the script, I came up with another man for the list. That was not on my list before. So this is the last man on the list. I was doing a little bit of multitasking while script writing and just happened to be watching James Corden's Carpool Karaoke with guest star Bruno Mars. And let me just say, face card never declines. He was wearing a cool silk shirt and a baseball cap and some sunglasses, and for some reason, it worked. I don't know how, but Bruno Mars pulled the outfit together. He's got swagger. His dynamic with James Corden was so fun to watch. It was like watching my friends and me in the car with our playlist blasting, driving through downtown at 2 a.m. And he has great teeth. I've never noticed that about him until now. Makes sense why there's Versace on the floor. Okay, now the list is done. No more surprises. I will say this though. I don't think it's very likely, but if I gather enough people on my list, I will make another Hear Me Out episode. It also depends on how well this episode does. I really enjoyed writing the script a lot more than I thought I would, so maybe another episode like this will be in the works someday. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of KT. If you're interested in getting updates and behind-the-scenes content, go ahead and follow KT Podcast on Instagram. That's KAETEA Podcast. I also take episode suggestions. You can leave them in my DMs or feel free to comment on any of my posts. And with that, I'm Katie, and this is KT. Thanks for listening, and I hope you tune in to the next one.